So much of being a late diagnosed autistic person is re-evaluating your life with the new knowledge of how your brain works. It feels like the first half of my life was knowing I was different but not knowing why. And now the second half will be knowing why and slowly learning how best to use the make and model of brain that I've got. Knowing the why of something often makes it hurt less. So, here's 6 things that always affected me that I didn't know were part of being autistic. Number 1, shyness. I've always been a shy little loner. I knew pretty early on in my life that I felt most comfortable in my own company and the company of my imaginary friends, but I didn't know why. As I got older, it felt like everyone else was going to parties and hanging out, and everyone on TV had big groups of friends that they did things with, and that to them was easy, when to me it was almost impossibly difficult. I tried to participate, but it felt like I hadn't received the instruction manual for how to behave among other people that everyone else seemed to have got. Still now, as a fully grown adult, I have no idea how people just walk up to other people at a party and do small talk. I've tried it. It makes me want to scrape out my brains with an ice cream scoop and jump into quicksand. Never is it made more clear that I am different. The more people that they are around me, the more isolated and stressed I feel. But these days, at least I know why. I know that my brain processes information differently, and I feel okay about avoiding those situations. And yes, sometimes I kind of plan what I'm going to say in advance. But for the many decades before my diagnosis, I felt so dumb for not knowing how to do something that everybody else seemed to find so easy. I felt broken when I was just different. Number 2, routine. Now, my jobs, I'm a performer and a writer, they might seem the opposite of a 9-to-5 routine. But when I'm travelling to a gig or working on a piece of writing, I do get to create my own structure, and that is very important to me. For me, it's not so much doing the same thing every day, although when I'm at home, I do start every day the exact same way. Get up, take pills, make espresso, do yoga, have a bath, answer emails, but it's about having a structure that gets stuck to. If I know what's going to happen in the order it's going to happen, then I feel soothed. Soothed by the scaffolding surrounding possible unpredictability. Being able to see in my head the layout of my immediate future, to be able to manage my energy levels, to know what parts I can look forward to and which parts I should prepare myself for. Once a plan has been agreed, if it changes, it hurts. Suddenly, the scaffolding wasn't strong enough. The structure falls down. The sudden unpredictability of things has me powerless. I feel oddly betrayed by circumstance. We agreed a plan. If that isn't trustworthy, then perhaps nothing is, and everything is painful chaos. So what's the point? I'm getting better at this. I found that I can kind of fool my brain by telling it that having no plan and just seeing what happens is, in fact, its own plan. This sometimes works. A bit. But more often than I'd like, I'm blindsided by a minute change in a routine, and that can often lead to number 3, meltdowns. If things get bad, as things sometimes do, and the screeching of anxiety starts to get louder, and those intrusive and seductive dark thoughts grab you by the wrist and drag you down with them in a faster and faster spiral plunge, you lose control of yourself, you lose sight of yourself. I said at the top of this video that much of my life is spent reframing past episodes with the new knowledge of my neurodivergence, and holy cats, do meltdowns feature in that reframing. I'm full of shame about the times in my past when my stress and panic has snowballed me into a state where, to those around me, to those I love, I've just been a chaotic arsehole. To the people who say, well, what's the point of getting a diagnosis? It doesn't change anything. Well, If I'd been diagnosed back then, I would have probably known how to manage myself better, and I wouldn't have a greatest hits album of times I behaved like a weird, selfish oaf to my friends, which gets replayed in my head a couple of times a week at 3 in the morning. Whew. Number 4, the hubbub. Look, I cannot stress this enough. I thought I was going deaf. In a busy room, like a bar, I'd struggle to hear the person who was right in front of me. Instead, my brain would be hearing every other sound in the room, every conversation, and delivering them to me with equal priority. Even though I'd be trying to pay attention to the person I was talking to, I'd be involuntarily listening to every other conversation within earshot and processing what those people were saying. It's exhausting. Add background music and things get worse, because it's not background to me. My brain pushes it to the front and makes me pay attention to the lyrics, the melody, splits it down so every instrument is separate in my head, makes me remember the last place I heard that song, or the first place, or what the singer looks like, or where they are now, and... So look, if you're talking to me and I keep saying pardon and asking you to repeat things, that's why. Not deaf, not disinterested, autistic. Number 5, justice. Now, this is the most, well, I did not see that coming thing on this list. Throughout my life, whenever I've perceived something as not fair, it's always brought me pain. Now, I know that's kind of how you're supposed to feel in that situation if you're a decent person, but when I say pain, I mean physical ache. I mean long-term obsession. I mean I'm still thinking regularly about things that happened when I was 12. And this is a hard thing to talk about, because it sounds like I'm saying, well, you know, maybe I just care more than you. But that's not it. And I learned recently about high justice sensitivity, which is something that affects neurodivergent people. Now, I suspect it might be linked somehow to the classic trait of all or nothing thinking, but regardless, it means that my moral compass is overly magnetized, which you might think isn't too big of a hardship. It's good to care, after all, but here's the thing. The world is very incredibly not fair on every level, everywhere, all the time. And just like when I'm in a busy bar, I hear every conversation clearly, every piece of intolerance, bias, corruption, injustice. It hits me equally hard. It's very draining. And when the most effective thing you can do to counteract it is to try and care less about other people, well, that feels pretty weird and awful. Number 6. Clumsiness. If you've seen me perform or know what I do, then hearing me say that I'm clumsy might sound kind of odd. When I'm on stage, I make my living from being professionally dexterous. But for many years, it's been a running joke in my house about how undexterous I am when I'm off stage. I'm very good at dropping things, knocking stuff over, pouring one thing into another thing and missing. Sometimes I'm just holding something, not even moving, and I'll involuntarily jerk it out of my hand like I've been electrocuted. I'm saving all my dexterity for the show, I always say. But turns out it's a common autistic trait to have some spatial awareness issues, a little light dyspraxia. And again, if I didn't know this, I can absolutely see my anxiety starting to tell me that maybe I had some kind of neurodegenerative issue, but knowing that it's on the fascinatingly diverse list of unsuperpowers that neurodivergent people often have takes that stress away, even if it doesn't take the mess away. So there we go. 6 things that I didn't know were autism when I also didn't know that I was autistic. But I'd love to hear yours. If you're autistic and there's something that you were surprised to find out is an autistic trait, then please tell me about it in the comments below. Hope you're doing okay. I'll see you next time.